Good morning. I hope everything's great in your life today. I hope you had a good weekend. Hope you had an opportunity to worship God with Christians somewhere around where you live. And if you ever have the opportunity, if you're in the Lone Oak, Arkansas area, I hope you'll drop by and worship with us at the Palm Street Church on Sunday. It would be marvelous to have you. This coming Sunday is Father's Day. And that's a tremendous time to remember the dads and what they've meant in our life. I ought to remember always that when God was giving 10 great commandments that he wanted the people that loved him to follow, that at the very beginning of the ones that had to do with human relationships, he would say it's this: honor your father and your mother, that your days may be long upon the earth. Now, it's interesting, when he gave that to them and the children of Israel, it was that your days may be long in the land that he was going to take them to, that promised land. When Paul quotes that command over in Ephesians chapter 6, he changes it just a little and says that you may be long or live long on the earth. But the idea of honoring fathers and mothers is such a valid principle all through Scripture. Think about the fact that Jesus was the Son of God, that his Spirit, that the Spirit of God came on Mary and caused her to be pregnant with Jesus. And so Jesus was born of a virgin mother. And yet, what is so amazing to me is that he went home and was subject to his stepdad, Joseph, and his mother, Mary. And he seemed to have learned from his dad as well, and was, or a stepdad, Joseph, and grew up learning from him how to be a carpenter. It's interesting when he goes back to Nazareth, and Matthew's account of it will say that the people say, "Isn't this Joseph the carpenter's son?" Mark's account says, "Isn't this Jesus the carpenter?" And so evidently he was known as a carpenter, just like his stepdad had been among the people of Nazareth. What did you learn from your dad? When you look back and you're growing up, what were some things that your dad taught you that you need to remember and that you need to follow? Now, Paul, in writing to those Ephesians, will begin by saying, "Children, obey your parents in the Lord, for this is right." And then he'll give that command, honor your father and your mother. And then he'll turn to the fathers and say, "Fathers, don't provoke your children to anger, but bring them up in the training and the discipline of the Lord." It's important that fathers realize their responsibility in bringing up their children for the Lord, and it's important for those children to learn to be subject. Now, I don't think he was writing particularly to little children that aren't old enough to make all that many choices in their life, but likely writing to children who were in the Lord, who had grown up enough to make that commitment to Jesus, and saying to them, obey your parents in the Lord. Now, sometimes parents may give charges and teachings that don't harmonize with the teaching of God. And so just like Peter's saying to those rulers among the people, we must obey God rather than men. If a parent is teaching us to do something that violates the teaching of God, then obviously we need to go with God rather than the parent. But that's seldom the case. I need to have that kind of honor and respect for mother and dad. And let me point out one other thing with it. Our Father in heaven is the greatest Father of all. He's the one that was pictured for us in that story of the prodigal son. That when that prodigal son went away, when he had the wrong attitudes entirely and wanted the things from his father that he didn't deserve, even in essence wished for his dad's death so he could get the inheritance. But I want to tell you, when that boy repented and started home, the picture of God as the one that would see him a long way off and run to meet him and throw his arms around him and kiss him. And when that boy began to say, Father, I'm no more worthy to be called your son. Make me a hired servant. God is that Father that says, go get a ring for his finger, get shoes for his feet, get the best robe we've got and put it on his back. And go and kill that calf we've been fattening and let's have a party because my son was lost and now he's found. He was dead and is now alive again. What a picture of God. No wonder Paul would say that because of Christ coming and what he's done for us, we can cry out to God, Abba, Father. He's our Dad, our Father in heaven. And so our longing, our closeness to God ought to grow every day. And when we think of Father's Day, never forget the greatest Father of all is our Father in heaven.